Good morning, everybody. It's your girl Miracle Sims, and you're listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspirational juice. It is April the 20th, 2023, and today the topic is God's wrath. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday, everyone. I hope that you all had a wonderful Wednesday. Mine was just fine. Matter of fact, it was more than fine. I have to tell y'all about yesterday because the Lord did so much, man. First of all, I was gone like the whole day because I told y'all that I was asked to come to a meeting at the church. And so, I made my way there. Um, Things were kind of up in the air a couple of moments, but it was very interesting because I know my husband was saying, for example, that he wanted to head out and get out and start hustling in the streets, X, Y, and Z. But because I had been invited to go to the meeting and the message did say that there wouldn't be childcare. So basically, I took that to mean that, not to bring NJ, X, Y, and Z. And so I was going to leave NJ with his papa, which is, my husband and whatnot, and everything like that. And so right before, I asked my husband, I'm like, technically it wasn't mandatory for me to go to this meeting. So if you need to go and do your thing, and he was like, no, you go ahead, you trying to establish something there, X, Y, and Z. And I said, okay. And I went on. And I went with the intention to stay throughout the day because I had the Miracle Lab last night. And so that's what I went to do. Now, y'all, long story short, that was not a regular meeting by any means. Like, it was a beautiful experience. At the end of the day, like, I don't know why it's hard for me to put into words in this moment. Like, it just was a beautiful encounter with the Lord. Like, the meeting started off with worship. So shout out to Brother Zach. Because he came in, he just sung a song, I guess, urged the Lord on in, so I'm already pretty much feeling the way I feel in church, tears is flowing, joy flowing, everything like that. Then the pastor, shared his vision for the next 7 years, as well as the next 3 years. And that was beautiful to hear and everything like that. I guess I wasn't too, maybe some people might be intimidated by the things that he was sharing, but I guess since it was my first meeting, I wasn't necessarily intimidated by the things he was saying. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Like, sounds like some good things are on the horizon for Mountain West Church, right? And then after that, they went over some, general business and stuff like that. And then he had a gentleman come speak. And so I don't know I know the man said his name and all that type of stuff, but I don't know who he is to Pastor Mo, which is our pastor at Mountain West. I don't know if he's a mentor. I don't know any of that or whatever. It seemed like it was a gentleman that he had known for a while, but regardless of that, he came and shared a lot of wisdom and everything like that. Some different things of how to handle day-to-day stresses, all this good, just chunks of wisdom and knowledge and stuff. And then, he said he was seeking the Lord about what to, do and share with us. And he said the Lord had shared with him defeat. And it was funny because when he said defeat, at first I'm like, defeat? But then I was like, oh, he must have said defeat, like DEFEAT. That's what I was thinking. Until I was putting two and two together of the setup and everything like that. So, long story short, they did the washing of each of the team members' feet. And not only that, he washed pastor's feet. We all prayed for the pastor. It just was like, I'm really trying to just sum it all up just because, I know I got other things to share this morning, but I can't explain or express to you all how beautiful the experience was. Like it was like, I understand team building, right? And I understand meetings, and I understand things of that nature, but that was on a whole nother level. Like, I don't think I've ever experienced a team building to that magnitude, right? Or a meeting to that magnitude. Like, I mean, I've been part of, some organizations and things like that, but it's just, I don't know. It just felt different. Like, everything felt different. And I know the pastor, he was the one to, because it was him and the other gentleman that was watching everybody's feet. And so our actual pastor was the one that actually got a chance to watch my feet. And I don't know, it just really felt like I said, just a spiritual, supernatural experience. Like, I'm like, I guess, I know I can't feel exactly like the disciples or feel like it was exactly like Jesus. I don't know about all of that. But as close as it could be for me is what it was like. And so I'm thankful. I'm thankful to have been at the meeting. I'm thankful that in spite of different obstacles that was trying to get in the way of me going, that I went. I'm thankful that I was invited. I was honored. I felt honored to be there. Because again, these are all the leaders of the church, you know what I mean? So I guess that we consider to be the quote unquote staff of the church, whatever the case is. And so to be in that mix, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. And so I had to share that. Got to keep that for my memory books and things like that, y'all. Like I said, the memory itself is going to be a beautiful thing to often reflect on, but I just wanted to at least share it here. That if you all have not experienced something like that, I mean, maybe you guys need to get into fellowship. I was actually talking to one of the ladies that is in my group, the juice group, small group or whatever, and I was sharing with her about it, and she was saying that her workspace had a similar encounter and whatnot, because the owner of the job is, a believer and everything like that. And again, like I said, I've been a part of jobs where, we pray and all that type of stuff, but I mean, it just was a totally different thing to be in that room and free to, worship and all the different things. Like I said, beautiful, beautiful experience. I just don't want to forget to share, as well as just don't want to forget in general. So so that was one of the main things that happened yesterday. Again, I did do everything I had set out to do. I had said to myself that morning, I said, well, I guess I'll get me some lunch, why not go find some flowers? Because I was finding flowers for the experiment that we did last night for the Miracle Lab. And I said, well, I can grab some lunch when I do that. But lo and behold, after the experience, because again, I can't call it a meeting, as the spiritual encounter with the Lord, they had lunch there for us. And I'm like, well, look at the Lord just providing and everything like that. And so after the meeting and after lunch, then I went to the store and did the things and got, the materials I needed to do the Miracle Lab. And then I helped out in some different areas, and then I just kind of started to prepare the space and prepare everything for the Miracle Lab later on that evening. And that went fine as well. I did some other tasks as well, had some meaningful conversations and whatnot throughout the day as well. And like I said, Miracle Lab, technically it was the last night, I would say, of that particular small group. I mean, I did kind of talk to the gentleman that is, I guess, over it or whatnot about like how to move forward or how he suggested I move forward and whatnot. So we'll see. Maybe the Miracle Lab will come back in the fall or something like that. We're going to see what the Lord do. But basically, that's what happened. It was a long day. I was there at the church pretty much all day, but I'm grateful and thankful. And I just want to put that on the record. All right. So, obviously I woke up this morning to the sound of my alarm with all of these things still on my heart and mind and everything like that. And so I listened to the prayer meditation and everything. And, I was just kind of reflecting or, seeking the Lord about what to talk about. Right. I bounced a lot of different ideas, obviously, again, with these things in my heart and mind, I was like, maybe I should talk about spiritual encounters. Maybe I should talk about fellowship. Maybe I should talk about, all these different things was coming into my heart and mind. And I was looking up things and verses centered around these things. But ultimately, again, I guess they weren't resonating, as I tend to say. Not that what I was finding wasn't good or something. It just was, I don't know. I guess I just kept seeking, right? I just kept seeking to see what the Lord wanted me to talk about. Ultimately, at some point, I started to receive, I can't remember how I got to God's wrath now. How did I get there, Lord? Yeah, I don't remember in this moment, but like I said, I was looking up a lot of different things, and yeah, but I don't know. But basically, at some point, I know that I was getting ready to just kind of just close my eyes or something, because my thing was, how can I say this? So basically, at some point, I was looking into verses and looking into things, and I just kind of felt, not say tired, but like, there's a lack of a better way to say it. I just say tired in this moment. So I guess I was kind of tired in a moment. And right when I was getting ready to just kind of close my eyes and just, reflect and see if God was going to give me something, I felt led to get the book, or get my journal. And I almost second guessed it, because I was just about to get comfortable, right, and just kind of woosah for a moment. But in order to not be disobedient, right, I went ahead and got my journal and started to, write everything. I wrote down the season and the episode and the date and all that type of stuff. And like I said, I can't remember exactly how I got to God's wrath, y'all, so I apologize for that. But basically, yeah, I believe that God's wrath was confirmed in my heart and mind. I looked up the wrath of God as well as God's wrath at openbible.info, and the verses were standing out and resonated with me. And so here they are in regards to the Jews. Now, one of the things that came into my heart and mind as I was reflecting on God's wrath and reading these verses and things is that it's just very interesting how we as humans we'll say all the phrases, right? We'll say the thing like, oh, only God can judge me, X, Y, and Z. But then on the flip side, we get mad about the things that God judged in the Bible, right? The same people that'll say, well, why did God kill all these people in this area? Or why did God kill babies? Yeah, they'll say this stuff. But then on the flip side, they'll be like, well, why don't God do something about this? Why don't God do something about that? And then these same peoples will probably be pro-abortion as well, which is very interesting. But that's a whole nother conversation all by itself. But it's just funny, interesting, however you want to look at it, that, we as humans go back and forth about what we think that God should do and how we think he should handle different situations and whatnot. And again, the same people that would complain about the judgment in, for example, the Old Testament will be the same people that will be like, well, why don't he do something about rape? Why don't he do something about this and that, or things that people are going through right now? Not knowing, again, like, I feel like this is the best description I've heard, and I'm going to share it as much as the Lord allows me to share it, that at the end of the day, the more that we sit here and ask the question of why won't God get rid of evil, we got to understand that we are the evil. Like, at the end of the day, you're saying, why don't God get rid of you? That's ultimately what you're saying. But you don't think you're saying that because you don't think you're evil, right? You think you're good. But the Bible tells us that none of us are good. So I guess with all of that on my heart and mind this morning, again, I can't tell you exactly how I got to God's wrath, but that's the conversation today. I don't know how you gonna feel about it, X, Y, and Z, but this is what the Lord's leading me to talk about today. So Psalm 7:11, it says, God is a righteous judge and a God who feels indignation every day. Now, again, I know we don't think that God is righteous because we think we know better and all this type of stuff. So that's a whole, again, another conversation for another day. As I was reading this verse, though, the word indignation stood out to me, so I did look it up. And indignation says anger or annoyance provoked by what is perceived as unfair treatment. So this verse literally says that God feels that every day. And again, I find it to be very interesting, because on one hand, we understand the concept, because if anyone makes us annoyed, or anyone makes us feel like they're treating us unfairly, or if you make us angry, then we don't like it. We're quick to say, oh, you wrong. We're quick to want to judge and all these different things, right? So you understand how it feels, but yet we do it to God every day. It's like we're holding up our middle fingers to the Lord every day. We're spitting on God every day. We're whatever your derogatory way to think about it, you're doing that thing to the Lord every day. But on the flip side, you're like, oh, only God can judge me, or oh, you feel some way about, again, the judgment that you do see in the Bible, things like that. Forgetting about the long-suffering nature of God, forgetting about the years of chances and the constant prophets and all the different things that, has been established to restore our relationship with God. Forgetting about all that, you feel like, anyway, yeah. So I guess you feel justified, right, to do those things to the Lord and make the Lord ultimately feel. And I'm just saying, we as humans, you as human, okay, myself included, because I'm sure I've done it in my own ways towards the Lord with my actions and things of the past. So I'm not sitting here trying to leave myself out of the equation or anything. I'm just saying that we understand what it's like to be annoyed, angry, things of that nature, again, but we do those things to the Lord every day. And then you say, only God can judge me about what I'm doing. But then once the judgment happens, you're probably gonna feel like it's unfair, because that's the conclusions you've come to. Now, if you're a fellow believer, then maybe I'm not talking to you at the moment, right? But I'm just saying, us as humans, this is what we do. And these are the conversations, the things that that people say, and they bring up in the midst of these conversations. It's just very interesting, because, you're saying only God can judge you, and you're right in the aspect of, like, he will ultimately judge. But you probably not going to feel like it's justified or righteous. But that's a whole nother thing. Let's keep going in these verses. But yeah, it says God is a righteous judge, and a God who feels indignation every day. So then 1 Thessalonians 5:9, it says, for God has not destined us for wrath, but to obtain salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ. So again, everybody wants to bring up hell. Everybody wants to be like, oh, well, why would a loving God send people to hell? And blah, 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 like all the things, like, that wasn't meant for you. It's clear in the Bible that hell was not meant for no human. Like, hell was meant for the fallen angels. It's clearly written in the Bible. Y'all can go read it for yourself, right? So, but anybody that chooses to, you say with your life every day that you don't want to be with God, ultimately, that's the option, to not be with God. And to not be with God means be with, I guess you would say, those angelic beings that didn't want to be with God too. Ultimately, like, those are the options. You either be with God or you don't be with God. Is that better than saying heaven or hell? Does it help us to understand it a little bit more? To just say being with God versus not being with God? Do we feel better about that? Like, whatever we need to do to get an understanding, it is, because again, if those are the options, to be with God and to not be with God, and we can call that heaven or hell, we can call that whatever you want to call it, but that's what ultimately the option is. And ultimately, God did everything and has done everything to make a way for us to be with him. Now, whether you believe that or not, that's how, again, we got the free will. That's the one thing I often, like, I do understand, Lord, but I often say, still, I often question, like, why you gave us the free will, because we just don't know what to do with it. Humans don't know what to do with it, obviously. Like, we choose to do all the evil, but then we still want the blessings of God. It's just, and again, not pointing fingers. I'm including myself in the scenario. You know what I'm saying? But it's just interesting. Anyway. So then Ephesians 5 and 6, it says, let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these things, the wrath of God comes upon the sons of disobedience. Y'all can reflect on that. I feel like it's very plain here. But if you are a son of disobedience, then the wrath of God is upon you. If every day the Lord is reaching to us and letting us know he loves us and all these different things, and he got a perfect plan for us and all this type of stuff, and you continue to deny and walk away and turn away and all this type of stuff, I don't want that, right? Then you're in disobedience, which is what sin is. Again, you guys can all go deeper on your own about that. But that's my understanding based on the things I'm reading, is that sin is equals disobedience, basically. And so, and unfortunately, you continue to disobey and things of that nature, then ultimately the wrath of God is, will come upon you. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. I think it's clear, but I mean, I don't know. We can all go deeper and see what else the Lord has to say about that. I guess on your own time. Now, Romans 2 and 5, it says, but because of your hard, impotent heart, you are storing up wrath for yourself on the day of wrath, when God's righteous judgment will be revealed. So instead of storing up treasures in heaven, right, and all the other beautiful things that the Lord is asking us to do with our life, and by, doing his will, his way, the true good things of the world and everything like that, instead of storing up that, you're ultimately storing up wrath to be in disobedience. That's what I'm receiving by that verse. I don't think there's any other way to just break it all the way down. I mean, there probably is, but I don't know if that's hard to understand. It's just not just cause and effect, but it's like opposites. Either you do this or you do that. So if you're not doing this, then you're doing that. If you're not storing up treasures in heaven, then you're storing up wrath. Like, again, hopefully this is helping us today. And on the flip side, like that other verse a minute ago, what was it saying to us? I guess the part about not destining us for wrath. Like, God didn't destine us for wrath. He did everything, came down in the form of a man, took on punishment by his own creation, and all of that, the disrespect, I mean, you can go on and on and on, right? All the things that was experienced when it comes to the cross and, everything like that. Did all of that for us, made a way that surpasses time and all of that. One sacrifice for all. And yet we still turn up our nose, and we still, again, throw up the middle fingers and do all the things that causes them to have the indignation every day. But anywho, let me keep going. So then let's see. Romans 5 and 9. Since therefore we have now been justified by his blood, much more shall we be saved by him from the wrath of God. So again, this is why we need Jesus. This is why we need what he did on the cross. This is why this sacrifice means so much. I guess, that's a nice verse to reflect on today, because the rest of it might have been Pope. There's only a couple of verses that I guess shows the positive side of this situation. But with this conversation to be about God's wrath today, I mean, I hope that this has given us all something to reflect on. Because at the end of the day, again, I would hope that all of us would want to store up treasures in heaven and things like that versus the wrath of God, especially when God has done everything and went out of his way to make a way for us through Jesus. And, that's the juice. I mean, I guess the juice today is ultimately, friend, at the end of the day, in spite of all of that, in spite of all these things being in play and the rule of law and however you want to look at it, in spite of all these things being the options, right? Good versus evil, heaven versus hell, being with God versus not being with God. Like, in spite of these options, God has made a way for us and he loves us. And again, I thought it was a beautiful description how that I received again this year that, we are the love interest of the Lord. And he's constantly, seeking us. He's constantly, wooing us and trying to woo us, things of that nature. And but he loves us. He loves us enough to allow us to choose, not forcing, not, any of that. He allows us to have the free will to choose him or not. So hopefully you choose correctly and rightly and things like that. But like I said, that's the juice, y'all. That is the juice. But I guess to piggyback on that, y'all, the Bible verse of today is Psalm 8:3-4. It says, when I consider thy heavens, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars, which thou hast ordained, what is man that thou art merciful of him, and the son of man that thou visiteth him? Friends, I hope you all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, not juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Tomorrow's Friday, y'all, so we have a new episode of the GSL Talk Show that's coming out at 7 p.m. Our guest is a gentleman, but I don't have his name in front of me right now, so be on the lookout on my social media and things like that. The name of our guest. Hope I will try to remember to write his name down tomorrow to tell you all. But regardless, y'all have a wonderful Thursday. And then, yes, I look forward to talking to y'all tomorrow if the Lord's will. Bye-bye. There you go, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble. Anybody listening to the sound of my voice, I hope that you all are encouraged and inspired. I know this may be a tight, quote unquote, message or conversation today. Talking about God's wrath. I mean, I just think we shouldn't make light of this thing, like we see examples throughout history of what God's wrath could look like, right? I know people talk about, for example, I think it was Brazil recently did a very blasphemous type of parade recently. And then not soon after that, I don't know if it was the same exact area, but it seemed like I heard about some in news reports that Brazil had got flooded and all type of things like that. I saw just this morning something about there was 12 tornadoes somewhere in the States not long ago. Like it, hey, yeah, only God can judge you in regards to the final judgment. But I wouldn't take that lightly. I would not take that lightly if I was, you or anybody. At least for me, I'm trying my best to be like, all right, well, Lord, I want to do your will. I want to live your way and things of that nature, because it's just crazy out here, man. And but yeah, I won't be long y'all's time. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. And yes, I look forward to talking to y'all tomorrow if the Lord's will. Bye-bye.